So we're going to give it a little bit of time. Hello, everybody. I'm Tracy Gardner, your host, and it's 11 o'clock. So we're going to give a couple of minutes for people to pop into the webinar so that we can get some people in and get started. We've got a lot of great things to cover today, a great discussion. Looking forward to speaking to Pete Gibson, our guest panelist, as you guys pop in here. We'll wait a couple of minutes. It's just only about 1 after the hour. So we want to make sure we have enough time for people to pop in. And I know people are busy on this Wednesday morning. I hope it's beautiful where you're at, Pete.
It is. It's a beautiful day here.
Yeah. You're in
We
North
got one of those.
Carolina?
Yeah, I am. And we
Yeah.
got one of those quintessential North Carolina fall days. Cool
Nice.
mornings, warm afternoons, not a cloud in the sky, and
Oh,
it's
that's
that nice Carolina blue, Tar Heel blue skies. So
yeah. You must be a Tar Heels fan.
I am. I
Yeah,
am.
exactly. You had to get that Tar Heel thing in. Um,
We do.
yeah,
We do.
exactly, exactly. Well, I'm in Florida and it's a beautiful day here as well. So, okay, so we'll get started here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tracy Gardner, the Global Marketing Director at VLink Inc., and I'm going to be your host for today's tech webinar series. We appreciate you being here for today's webinar. We know your time's valuable, so we'll try to make it really engaging for you. Putting AI at the center of digital transformation, how to lead digital transformation and AI initiatives in your organization. Today, real quickly, we're going to discuss some best practices for AI transformation journey and how to best lead this with a focus on IT cost efficiency. You're going to learn about game-changing IT strategies that align with your organization's vision and drive cost savings, proven ways to supercharge innovation with AI by uncovering cutting-edge techniques, and how to seamlessly integrate AI into your operations, boosting efficiency, productivity, and of course, that competitive edge that we all want. Before we get started, just a reminder to put your questions in the chat anytime. We can answer those as we go along in our half-hour webinar. Our guest panelist today is Pete Gibson. He's a seasoned tech leader who has successfully improved organizations from the multiple C-level positions like CIO, CTO, CDO. He has directed 6 large technology organizational turnarounds and has improved company revenues by more than 30% and reduced costs by that same percentage. Pete has a track record of delivering transformation success stories that can guide your company's digital journey. Pete served as the CTO of Wyndham Worldwide. He successfully retooled the information technology and e-commerce operations for IBM and Alamo National, not to mention tech roles at Friendly's, Johnny Rockets, and the Navy Tomahawk Missile Program, among many others. Pete, just welcome. So glad to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, I just want to get started by asking you, many companies are grappling with implementing AI right now. It's at
Sure.
the forefront of everybody's mind. What are the key factors to consider when aligning AI initiatives with an organization's broader vision and goals?
Sure. Okay. Um, it's not as difficult as you think. Okay. And I'm going to back this up a little bit. AI is one of those amoebic type terms that covers everything, but actually means very little. So if we were to go back to the early 2000s and we were to talk about AI, all the data scientists would tell you about AI horizon was optical character reading. And if you talk to really hardcore data scientists and things like that, they'll tell you AI really means the stuff that hasn't been done yet. So if you look at AI, you look at a lot of different subsets right now. You can look at large language models, the chat GPT type things. You can start looking at IoT plays, self-driving cars, things of that nature. You can go into that, or you can go into more of machine learning type things. So there's this whole subcategory of what are you trying to achieve in AI. Once you get rid of that AI label, and you really start focusing in on the project that you think native language processing for, phone systems and things like that, it really is that technology that you start focusing in on. And so when you start looking at it in that sense, you know, it's, and I say, people say, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? Yeah, call me old school, right? Whatever you want to, but I'll go back to ROI models real quickly. So I go into organizations, and as you said earlier, I go into some challenged organizations and how do you get them going in the right direction. And let me tell you, the tech debt is high. The demand for tech is high. You normally have no money, you have no resources because the businesses are struggling. So what do you go do? And so you take this, it's real simple. And of course, everyone has a project that they just need yesterday, and you don't
Oh
have the
yeah, of
resources. So how
course.
do you, as an executive, go handle that? And the way I handle it is get the emotion out of it. And let's just go look at the value of each project that is given to you, and what is the ROI, return on the investment. This is old school type stuff, but it's still very,
Hmm.
very valuable. So now let's
Hmm.
put AI into that, whatever your AI project, or let's call it your IoT project, your, language model, whatever it might be, you put that in there and you say, what is the ROI for that project? And then you can rack and stack it in amongst all the other projects and put it in appropriately.
Yeah,
So it's
so
not
important.
hard,
Yeah.
but and then what and you go talking to the execs, and they're not dumb. I'll tell you that right off the bat. You go into them and you say, here's all the list, here are all the projects, here's the ROI, here's the one that we think is the best.
Yeah.
And then go
Well, get,
down and down and down. And then you say, well, I'm out of money, I'm out of resources once I get to here. And then people below the line say, oh, I gotta get some help. And so whatever. And you say, well, I need more funding, and we go do that. But you get the emotion out of it, and you get to the
yeah.
ROI, and then they'll look at it and say, yeah, 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 that makes a lot of sense. And the other
Yeah,
execs, part of the
all
business, they're all
CEOs can
struggling with the same
understand.
things you are. Not enough resources, not enough money, got to get the marketing done, got to go do this, and how do I go do it? So,
Yeah, all CEOs can understand ROI for sure. Can
well, they
Pete, can you share
can.
it? Yeah, they
Yeah, go ahead.
can. Can you sell a success? Can you share an example of a successful AI-driven transformation that directly contributed to cost efficiency while also driving innovation?
They're out there. And now
Hmm.
you get back that a lot of the people that are claiming success in AI are, for a lot of them, they're repackaging older technology. And they're just
Mm,
putting it. So
interesting.
I'll go back to one technology that I'm really have been bullish on over the years is business process, BPM. But
Hmm.
it has had different names throughout the years. Same thing with AI, it kind of has uh, different names to it, but they're all out there. So you look at supply chain optimization with Amazon. And when we were working with, I built Walmart.com, or one of my teams built Walmart.com when I was in China, looking at their supply chain optimization, looking at the numbers, looking at the algorithms and so forth. Looking at, we did a project with Wyndham when I was consulting after I finished in China and came back about figuring out what franchisees are going to fail. And then from that,
Mm,
the field team can
interesting.
go get there. And if I can identify 80% of the ones that are going to fail, and you can save 20% of them, I'm going to generate $30 million. I'm going to $6 million of that is going to be pure profit for you. And then at the end of the day, I'm also going to move your stock price 5 to 10%.
Yeah,
So they're
that's neat.
there. Tesla's
Yeah.
autonomous driving, right? Is there. IBM's powered customer service is there that can transform the business. Now, let's be realistic that where everyone's talking AI and we're going to go into this whole new world that is super AI. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not seeing that. What I am
Hmm.
seeing is what we see very much in the industry, which is instead of revolutionary, which ChatGPT kind of is revolutionary, what
Hmm.
I'm really kind of seeing is evolutionary plays where we put AI as part of the tech set. We put AI into a product. We put AI into a business solution, and that has dramatic impact on what the business is doing.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so let's look at revenue optimization for an example. So, revenue optimization has always had a strong case in forecasting. Forecasting has always been based in statistical models. What rate do you set for a pricing or for a hotel room or for Disney parks or whatever. And so Disney used to, they started a project many, many years ago, which everyone kind of knows as Magic Band. If you've ever been to Disney, they give you the little band and they track and can get packages to your room, whatever. But it's an IoT play, and they know everything about you. They know what you're doing and so forth. On the backside of it, which was like a very large EMC array, which they had a whole data science team hitting this thing, understanding customer profiles. What were they doing? What were they more intuitive? What were they buying? Where were they at certain times in the park and so forth? And that has reshaped everything that they
Oh, yeah.
have done, from ticketing to traffic flow to whatever, by understanding that and having an IoT play. They
Yeah.
disaggregated their packages. They are now have a lot of sale of individual products. Yeah, a little bit in trouble with the customer on being too expensive and
Like the
not what it
fast
used to
pass and
be,
yeah.
but they are
Yeah.
killing it right now. Don't forget
Yeah.
that used to be in Disney, it was movie production and ESPN and so forth. Now the big revenue generations, now the big revenue generations, or one of the large revenue generations, is the parks because
Man,
of the models and so forth, and people liking, even though they complain a little bit, liking the experience. And now they
of
have a huge
course.
project. One of my friends is an Imagineer down there, and he is spending, his project he has right now is to develop new lands for the various parks down there,
Oh,
which is a
wow.
pretty heady type project.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Pete, real quick, we want to tell people feel free to post any questions you have for Pete
absolutely.
in the chat. We'll take those live, or you can wait until the end. And of course, we'll have time for some Q&A as well. We have about, I think 20 minutes, a little less than 20 minutes left. Pete, talk about some common pitfalls to avoid when trying to balance the budget while implementing AI technologies. I know that, I think you and I spoke previously to this, and you were talking about just, adding value too as a CIO.
Yeah. Um, so as a CIO, or and let's just put it down as a leader of a team. One of the things you always need is options. And so when it comes to AI, or how do you add, so the question isn't so much about AI, because again, that's an amoebic term. The question really is how do you add new technologies to an organization? How do you go do that? And I know out here we probably got some large enterprise folks today. We got medium enterprise, and we got guys that got like 5 or 6. But you always need to be looking at the newer technologies and how do you get them to go play and get them in. And so one is I am always uh, prototyping and playing with new technologies. And so for the small teams, like at Friendly's, we didn't have a big team. I was working in there and turning it around, and we had no money. There's no training budget. There's no nothing. But we would leverage vendors' technology sessions and send people to training and let them learn with the new technology and play with it and so forth. The larger teams, like a large enterprise team, you probably have a future technology team or something of that nature that can incubate these type things for you. But then, so you're always playing with it. And I'd go to, let's just say on the smaller teams, I would go to like a person like Tracy, and Tracy said, really want you to play and, let's go try this. And she'd go, I don't have time for that. You've got me loaded up with all the other stuff, and now you want me to go do that too. I don't have time for this.
Right.
Humor me, just go play
Sounds
with it a little
familiar.
bit. And so they'll go play with it, and then they come back, and they're really well, they are educated, but also more importantly, I have helped them grow their careers too.
Mhm.
But then when we get serious about it, i.e., we think we got a business case, we think we got to sell on this thing, then the first thing I'll start doing is again, it's not about the AI, it's not about the machine learning, it's not about that. It's about how do I add the new technology to the team. So where are the people, where are the processes that we need, and where is the technology? You get those three, and I actually put it in a project plan, new technology. How do we go play with it? How do we risk mitigate it and so forth? And I'll tell you an example. So SAS, Charlie Goodnight down in Cary, North Carolina, that makes an extremely good statistical product and product set on the data side. Really good products. I know of a multi-billion-dollar company that said, we're going to go use it for our pricing and forecasting and so forth.
Sure.
So they bought SaaS for $1 million. The project for them was $1 million. They did not hire data scientists. They did not change their business processes. And
Oh my
within
goodness.
14 months, 18 months, they wrote off the $1 million investment.
Wow.
So you've
Got to
got to,
do
so
it
you
right.
look at it as a project plan that, and yeah, you don't know it, but you got to learn about it. And you bring in your bright people and you bring in your customers a little bit too. And you say, what are all the things that we need to consider? And how do we go start putting this plan together based on our business situation, based on what this is going to be a real project? Are we just planning with it and so forth? And that way you can track to it and hold rigor to it, the project, to make sure that you are progressing and acquiring this new technology. And then
Mhm.
you can also, back to the PM risk mitigation type thing, you can go in there and say, what did we learn? What are the major risks? And then how do we start risk mitigating that, either through business processes, customer support, or prototyping? You know, you may want to prototype some of this stuff because we're just not sure, or we need to train people, whatever that project plan is to go do that. But
You
yeah,
know, we have a
I always put in a project plan to go to.
it's
It
a
doesn't
good
have to be a
idea.
big, it doesn't have to be a Microsoft project type thing. It could be an Asana type thing, 15, 20 step type thing to go do it. Keep it lightweight to meet the needs of but put rigor into it also and hold yourself and everyone else accountable.
You know, we do have a question, and it kind of goes in line with what you're talking about. How do you build an AI center of excellence in hyper competitive digital era? How do you build an AI center of excellence in the hyper competitive digital era?
You are not building an AI center of excellence. Again, I will say that you will not find any technology that is AI. And that's hard to understand, especially in the digital. And you have probably the CEO is coming to you. We need to go do something in AI, and the board is asking you, "What are you doing in AI, Pete?" And you kind of got to get in front of that and say, "This is what we're playing with," and so forth. And oh, by the way, Mr. Board, it's not AI. It is, for what we need here, machine learning and pricing. In order to do that, we need X, Y, and Z. So now, how do we build a center of excellence, which means you're a larger bit, whatever the technology is, let's just call it machine learning. Who are my data scientists? Who are my um, who are my
Got
data
to have
scientists? Who are
governance.
my
You got to
ETL
have
guys? Who are
governance.
my DBAs on this to form and make a good center of excellence?
Yeah,
I
with
used to
governance.
mentor down at University of Miami in
Hmm.
Florida, and some of the data scientists out of their data science program we picked up. And one was, I shouldn't say the name, one was a pretty good company. And this is when the predictive analytics craze was really hot. And I'm hardcore on predictive analytics, but you just got to put it in the right package. And so they picked up 10 of these guys, and they were going to they were going to build an AI, or I mean, a predictive analytics center of excellence. They did it at the corporate level, and then they had the different business units and stuff. So we're going to go do this. Yeah, they forgot one thing. They had no
Would they
damn
forget?
customers. They had no customers. They had no business cases. So of course I communicate with some of the folks that were on, and they go, "Yeah, I wasn't placed on the corporate team. I got put down in a business unit, and so I'm doing predictive analytics down here, and I got a few product projects. I'm really not doing pure predictive analytics, but I'm doing BI and some predictions and stuff like that. So I'm happy." All the 8 guys that were up at the corporate level, the big guys, whatever, never had a project. They released them in 14 months.
Oh no.
So you got to have a
That,
business. Just because you stand up a center of excellence, you got to still got to have that business case. You got to say, what
you
is the value of the center of excellence? What are we going after on the center of excellence? And that will help
good
build your
question.
team.
Good questions.
I mean,
Yeah,
are you going
very
after
good.
pricing? So you look at it from the technology side, but also don't forget the technology side. You got to have the business side of it also, the business experience. What is the business vertical you're after? Are you fintech or whatever it is? You got to have those guys with the experience too, because then they can help you understand what a pricing model looks like or whatever the different models may be. Ooh, I just got a
Yeah.
10 minute. webinar.
You know what? Yep, we have about 10 minutes left, and
And
we
we've
do
only
have
gotten to
another
question
question.
one.
It goes by fast. We'll get to that in just a second, but I wanted to pause real quick and do a poll here. We
Okay.
recently, VLink, posted a poll on LinkedIn asking, which factor do you consider most critical when implementing AI into your organization's digital strategy? And you can see the results here on your screen as soon as Taryn will bring those up here shortly. And leadership support, they said 28% said that is most critical. Integration with systems, 38%. That's what I would have voted for as well. Data quality, 21%. And clear use cases and ROI was 14%. Tell us what you think of that. Does that seem pretty accurate? Is people with their finger on the pulse of it, or how to lead digital transformation and AI initiatives in your organization? So which factor is most critical, Pete? What are your thoughts on the results?
Very, very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not going to say any of them are wrong, actually.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to take more of a balanced perspective on it. So I'm going to go for the bottom up, clear uses case and ROI. You've heard me hit that for the last 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Data quality, yeah, major data quality issues. A data scientist will spend 80% of their time cleaning data.
Wow.
So in all, like so we've done, I've done some industry solutions where we collect all the information and so forth. So yeah, cleaning, data quality, cleaning and normalization is huge because you got to understand it and so forth. So what is New York City? Let's just say you haven't addressed New York City, but what is it? Is it a what sounds really simple in New York City, right? But are you doing it based on zip code? Are you doing it based on government statistical areas? What are you doing it on?
Yeah.
Integration with other systems? Yep, huge.
That's key.
Now, that was number one. I will probably say the number one issue, or to me, the number one thing is leadership. Not leadership support, but leadership of the initiative. Leadership support is a team getting support and so forth. That's really kind of the leader of the project to garnish that and network and pull all that and evangelize what you're doing and so forth. So I would say leadership is probably the number one. Leadership support, I will always tell my team, especially when I go in and work in teams that need to go up a couple levels, is no one gives it to you on a silver platter. We've got to go earn it.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's get in there and start earning it. Yeah. What do we need to go do? Is if we need to have better customer relationships, then we need to go do that. So leadership support is a misnomer. You go earn it. You earn the respect to go do that. Absolutely. Yeah. Then the integration of the systems. If you ain't integrating this day and age, you ain't doing it, guys. And everyone knows that, and that's probably why that came back number one.
Yeah. We have another question, Pete, that somebody put in the chat, and it says, what initiatives should tech leaders pursue in today's critical Gen AI age and with the ethical dilemmas? So I think that, governance and things like that, might be what this question's about. What initiatives tech leaders should pursue in today's critical Gen AI age and ethical dilemmas? Like ChatGPT.
And what I'm looking at is the Gen AI. Are we talking generative AI, the large language models, the ChatGPT, and so forth?
Probably.
We do have tech. We do have issues associated with that, and then we got to look at it as what is the solution that you are looking at? Where is the biases? And all models, statistical models, all have biases. And depending on how you develop the model, how you train the model, they all have biases. You got to understand it and say it is acceptable. And so now the ethical dilemmas. This is where it kind of goes, I got my idea. Tracy has her idea. You have your idea. But this is where you need to start getting the corporate governance guys involved into it and say what is ethical and not ethical, because ethical is a relative term. Ethical for you, ethical for the organization, ethical for the customer, because somewhere along the way, you're going to get sued. And I don't mean that I'm the solution or generative AI, but we are, at least in
Right.
the United States, I know you got a lot of people in other countries on here. We are very much in a legal thing. And it's just amazing. I'm always amazed at the people, the law firms that don't have customers. All they do is trying to sue other companies to get money for stuff. So
Yeah.
there is going to be the ethical dilemmas. You got to understand it, stake it out, be really wise and evangelize it. Have
Absolutely.
your teams, how good is your agreement, user agreement on the product set that you are using and so forth to say that. And then the other thing that I'm going to caution people on is what is your model maintenance? So models based on the data coming in, they will not necessarily, they will kind of start going awry a little bit. So how do you
Yeah.
do model maintenance? So whatever your policies are in the organization, how do you know once you train the model and you have it in production and so forth, how do you make sure that it's not steering away into other areas? You might invoke ethical issues outside of your agreement with the customer.
Yeah.
Once you get
Yeah.
outside of your user agreement, you're kind of in trouble at that point.
Great. Well, Pete, we only
I
have a
hope I
few
answered
minutes
your
left,
question.
but you did.
Let me
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
if I,
I hope so too.
I
So,
know you and I did, but hey, I don't know if there's something
that
deeper.
we
I just
didn't,
want to make
so
sure that
put
I've
it in the
answered.
chat if he didn't answer it. Please feel free to
Okay,
put the questions in the chat, or in the Q&A section. We want you to be able to ask Pete some questions if you want to do that. So,
sure.
Pete, we're running short on time here, but I wanted to ask you, how do you ensure that AI initiatives remain scalable and sustainable over the long term?
Um, and I say this to a lot of folks. Yeah, sustainable, you know, gone are the days, and you see it when I go into organizations and they go, "Oh, we got an e-commerce thing." I say, "Well, who's maintaining it? Who's doing it?" This guy over here is doing 5,000 other things. And you kind of go, oh, you're working project to project, and that doesn't quite work. So in the AI world, especially in the newer technology, whenever you do new technology acquisition, again, it's not just the technology. Yep, you tell me you got people on there, and what are your business processes on this also to get you in there? But now, how do you make sure that it remains relevant? So you put a solution, and then we start going down a path of next release, next release, next release, and then making sure that it is scalable as you go in. The infrastructure is scalable, the solution is scalable, i.e. the metrics or the models are scalable and so forth. And then the capacity on it also. Now, a lot of your AI stuff this day and age for a lot of organizations isn't going to be homemade and homegrown. It's going to be packaged procurement. So Microsoft and AWS and so forth are coming out with some really solid offerings that really came out of their statistical modeling and so forth that they are throwing out there. Natural language processing for voice, you can start doing statistical stuff, things of that nature that you can start punching into those type things too, or into your solutions. And so that they will help you be scalable. But then the other thing is that once you start having success with any technology, you evangelize the success with it, and that starts breeding more people want to start doing more automated things and so forth, and more projects, and that team starts growing further and further, which helps you scale and with funding and resources and so forth, that you can keep on scaling this thing. And also, hey, don't be, if it doesn't work, and work doesn't mean technically it doesn't work, but if it
Right.
doesn't work business wise, do not hesitate to kill the project. That's tough.
Yeah.
That is
It
really
is
tough to
tough because
understand.
it looks like failure. I
It
mean,
does look like
that's
failure.
people fear failure, you know.
What you do, but also the cost of keep on working a solution
Yeah,
that is mediocre
is
costs you a
worse.
lot of money and failure also. So if a solution doesn't have a sponsor, if a solution doesn't really have a need, we look to consolidate it into something else, or we look at trying to sunset that as soon as possible. And you don't write it off as a failure. I mean, yeah, you kind of hit, and it is a raspberry. As a CIO, you are going to take a hit. It didn't work well. Well, you need to go back and be introspective and say, how did we miss on it? Because there's a business process miss along the way, the business case, the requirements,
Sure.
or something we missed. But then also don't hesitate to go kill it. And you do build a lot of, you build trust, especially with the CFO, but also with the CEO. And if you tell the marketing guys over why you think this needs to go away, they're not unreasonable folks.
Yeah,
So,
we're not. Well, Pete, listen, we're out of time. Thanks so much to, you for being such a great panelist, great discussion. Thanks for everybody for joining us and for your valuable time today. We will send out an on-demand link. Someone asked that in the chat. So if you know someone who might enjoy it, let us know. We'll send that on-demand link out tomorrow. If you want more information from Pete, his contact information is up on the screen here. You can contact him. His email and confirmation is on the slide, and his LinkedIn if you want to link in with Pete. And if VLink, the company that hosts these tech webinar series, myself, can help you in any of your AI initiatives, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I'll connect you with the right person because we would love to help. We're experts in space. So thanks again, everyone, and see you next time. We certainly enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us.